The British monarchy has always thrived on carefully managed narratives. For decades, the public has been presented with a tidy image of duty, loyalty, and family unity. But every once in a while, a new story cracks that image wide open and forces people to look a little closer. Recently, discussions around the biography William and Catherine by royal commentator Russell Myers have stirred renewed debate not just about the Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, but once again about the enduring influence of the Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. What's striking about the excerpts circulating from the book is that even when the focus is supposed to be on William and Catherine, the story keeps circling back to Harry and Meghan. It's almost as if their presence continues to dominate the conversation around the modern monarchy. And that alone tells us something important. The Sussexes remain central figures in the cultural and emotional narrative surrounding the royal family, whether critics want to admit it or not. One of the most talked about revelations in the book revolves around the early days of Harry and Meghan's relationship in 2016. At that time, Meghan had just been identified publicly as Harry's girlfriend, and almost immediately the British tabloid press began publishing stories that many observers described as aggressive, intrusive, and in some cases, deeply troubling. Headlines focused on her background, her family, and even racially charged commentary about her identity. For many people watching from the outside, the tone of the coverage felt harsh and unfair. In response, Harry did something that was relatively unusual within royal circles. He publicly defended his partner. Through a statement issued by his communications secretary, he called out the harassment and racial undertones in the coverage. The statement asked the media and the public to show basic respect and compassion toward Meghan. That moment now stands as a defining example of Harry's approach to relationships and responsibility. Instead of remaining silent or letting palace tradition dictate the response, he chose to speak up. For supporters of the Sussexes, it was a clear signal of the kind of husband Harry intended to be: protective, supportive, and unwilling to allow someone he loved to face hostility alone. According to the account described in Myers' book, that decision apparently did not go down well with everyone inside the royal household. The suggestion is that both King Charles III, who at the time was still known as Prince Charles, and Prince William, were frustrated by Harry's move. The reasoning, as reported, was that the statement made them appear passive or indifferent by comparison. If that interpretation is accurate, it reveals a fascinating clash of perspectives within the royal family. For generations, the institution has operated on an unwritten rule: never complain, never explain. Members of the royal family are often expected to endure criticism or invasive coverage without publicly pushing back. It's part of the machinery that keeps the monarchy operating smoothly in the eyes of its defenders. But Harry's actions challenged that tradition. Rather than accepting the old rulebook, he chose a different path, one rooted in personal loyalty and modern expectations about partnership and respect. For many observers, that difference is precisely why Harry and Meghan resonate with so many people around the world. They represent a shift away from the idea that personal happiness must always come second to institutional expectations. Instead, they've emphasized mental health, family well-being, and mutual support. And that approach didn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. Harry has spoken openly in interviews and in his memoir, Spare, about how deeply the experiences of his mother Diana, Princess of Wales, shaped his views on the press and on relationships. Diana famously struggled with relentless media scrutiny during her lifetime. For Harry, seeing Meghan subjected to intense coverage likely triggered memories of that painful history. From that perspective, his decision to step in and defend Meghan wasn't simply romantic, it was protective, even preventative. He had seen what unchecked media hostility could do to someone's life and mental health, and he wasn't willing to stand by and watch history repeat itself. Supporters argue that this is where Harry's story diverges sharply from the traditional royal mould. Instead of quietly enduring the situation, he actively tried to change it. And that difference highlights a broader cultural shift. Modern audiences increasingly expect public figures, especially those in positions of influence, to stand up for their partners and challenge unfair treatment. In many ways, Harry's actions aligned more closely with contemporary values than with palace protocol. Meanwhile, Meghan herself brought a completely new dimension to the royal story. Before joining the royal family, she had built a career as an actress, humanitarian, and advocate. Known globally for her role on the television series Suits, Meghan had already established a public platform focused on gender equality and social issues. When she entered the royal world, she carried those interests with her. Rather than quietly blending into the background, she continued to highlight causes she cared about, particularly those related to women's empowerment and social justice. For younger audiences, that combination of confidence, activism, and independence felt refreshing. Meghan represented a modern woman navigating a centuries-old institution, and Harry, for his part, seemed determined to support that independence rather than suppress it. That dynamic, the idea of a husband and wife operating as a supportive team, became a central theme of the Sussex narrative. Instead of presenting a traditional hierarchy, they projected partnership. Yet, within the context of the royal family, that kind of partnership may have felt disruptive. Royal roles have historically been defined by strict expectations, and deviations from those expectations often generate tension. The stories described in Myers's biography suggest that such tension may have existed from very early in Harry and Meghan's relationship. Still, what stands out most when looking back at those early days is Harry's unwavering commitment to Meghan. Even before their engagement was announced, he made it clear that her well-being mattered deeply to him, and that commitment has remained consistent ever since. When the couple eventually stepped back from their roles as senior royals in 2020, it was widely interpreted as one of the most dramatic turning points in modern royal history. The move, often referred to as Megxit by commentators, sparked endless debate about the future of the monarchy. But from Harry and Meghan's perspective, the decision was framed as a step toward independence and peace. They relocated to California, focused on building their own projects, and established a new chapter through their foundation, Archewell Foundation. Through Archewell, the couple has supported initiatives related to mental health, digital safety, community relief, and storytelling. Their work reflects the values they've consistently emphasized: compassion, empathy, and positive change. They've also continued to speak about issues close to their hearts. Harry's ongoing work with veterans through the Invictus Games remains one of the most respected aspects of his public life. The Games, which he founded in 2014, have grown into a global celebration of resilience and recovery. Meanwhile, Meghan has expanded her focus on women's leadership and storytelling, including various media and philanthropic ventures. Together, they've built a life that reflects their priorities: family, purpose, and impact. And perhaps that's why stories about them continue to attract such intense attention. Even when the spotlight shifts to other members of the royal family, Harry and Meghan remain part of the conversation. Their story touches on themes that resonate far beyond palace walls: love, loyalty, independence, and the challenge of balancing tradition with personal truth. For many viewers and readers around the world, the idea that Harry stood up for Meghan in 2016 represents more than just a royal anecdote. It symbolises a broader message about respect and partnership. It reminds people that behind the titles and ceremonies, these are still human relationships that require trust, support, and courage. And in that moment, when Harry chose to defend Meghan publicly, he demonstrated exactly the kind of loyalty many people hope to see in a partner. Whether one supports the monarchy or questions its relevance, it's difficult to deny that Harry and Meghan have reshaped the royal narrative. Their choices have sparked conversations about race, media ethics, mental health, and the responsibilities that come with public life. Those conversations are not always comfortable, but they are undeniably significant. Years from now, historians may look back on this period as a turning point, a moment when the royal story expanded beyond traditional boundaries and began engaging more directly with the realities of the modern world. And at the centre of that shift will likely be the relationship between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. A partnership built on mutual respect, shared purpose, and the willingness to challenge old expectations. In many ways, that partnership continues to inspire people who believe that love and loyalty should never be secondary to public image. For Harry, protecting Meghan wasn't just about optics or headlines. It was about standing by the woman he loved, even when doing so disrupted centuries of royal tradition. And for many supporters of the Sussexes, that decision remains one of the most powerful examples of what real partnership looks like inside a palace or anywhere else in the world.